Okay. Good morning, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. Becky, would you call the roll, please?
Sure will. Jim Sheline.
Here.
Mike Book. Tom Kitson.
Present.
Larry Mimini. Tim Bivens.
Here.
Nancy Nail.
Present.
All right. Everybody have a chance to look at the minutes. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion past the minutes. Moved by Bivens, seconded by Kitson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. All right. Treasurers, Paul, what do you got for us? Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Public visitors. Charlie, have anything for us this morning?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, Paul, you've got your report. Clay, anything? Nancy? No. Jeff? Dean?
No, sir.
Michael, you know, I'm having named brain farts this
Tom's
morning.
up there.
Yeah, Keen. Yeah, the senior.
Tom's up there.
Is that a senior moment, Michael? Oh, man.
The glare's on this side. You shouldn't have.
I know, it's bad. But you should have been in the family as my kids were growing up. You know, that old Bill Crosby line about, you know, I know your name, you live here, I'll find out who you are. Amy, Stacy, thank you. Okay, Patty and Sarah. Up, Sarah, I was on a roll.
I just have a couple of updates just to send by you here.
Awesome.
Union negotiations have started. We started just last week. We have another meeting that is set for August 29th. So I'll keep you up to date as that continues to progress. I had an employee that has left, fallen victim to Dixon once again. He has moved over to Dixon Police Department. I, however, was able to bring back an employee that we had previously. So she's coming back at a higher salary than what he left. And she's coming back with 4 years experience. So it'll be nice to have her. She also has knowledge and experience with the new data management program that we just installed here recently as well. So that's going to be a nice asset for us. As you recall, we got a new data management system and was trained on that July 31st to August 2nd. So that's up and running, working through the pains of a new system and learning that, but it's going actually pretty well. In addition, Senate Bill 1463 was recently signed by the governor effective immediately that day. What that is that the court can no longer assess fees, fines, or costs for juveniles that go through the court system or their parents. Where that affects us at is on probation service fees. We don't get a significant amount from juveniles on probation service fees. But what we do get is reimbursement on detention costs. And detention costs, keep in mind, is that dependent children's care line item where we see the reimbursement coming back for the expenses that we've paid for detention. So there'll be a change on that. We can no longer request the court to have that parent reimburse us for those detention costs. And the last thing, ending on a good note, is we did get the reimbursement allocation letter from AOIC to the amount of a little over $494,000. So that'll go to the county for reimbursement of salaries within the probation department.
So these changes in that bill, Stacy, do we anticipate an amended budget from you then? Or have you and Paul talked as far as?
We haven't. I don't anticipate too much of a difference, really. The only impact that it's going to make is where I was estimating how much money we would be receiving back from the parents. And really, we're getting between probably less than $200 a month on reimbursements. And those reimbursements go for years from those parents. So annually, it's not a significant amount.
Okay. But once again, another state mandate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. Any questions for Stacy? Okay. Very good. Thank you. Patty and Sarah. And Dee snuck in. Nothing from D. Okay. And welcome, Mr. Book. Good morning. And let's see, we've got Insurance Committee and Gregco report. So I do understand Nancy has a report for us.
I do, actually. There was a quarterly insurance meeting yesterday, August 16th, here. The committee participated in a Zoom call with Cindy Zeichel and Angie Moscato. They are our consultants from IPVC. and they reviewed our current status. We now have a 12-month report of statistics, and the good news is our total annual claims are down from the previous year. Therefore, our costs will be lower than originally projected for the coming year. So we can expect an increase of about 4.25%. Wendy already knew about this, and she has plugged it into the current budget information. So I just wanted to let you know that, even though it's in there already. Penny Susser and Nancy Peterson have been implementing new insurance software called PlanSource. The implementation is going to require employees to update their personal information with Penny so that we can move on in that direction. There was a wellness report given, and I wanted to do a little quick background here. We have not talked about it completely here and there. In reviewing the wellness program incentives or giveaways early this year, it was noted that the process currently used to distribute the wellness monetary incentives needed to be revised due to tax liability and responsibility. In conjunction with the wellness group, other employees, specifically Sarah Leisner and Tracy Bay, who volunteered to take over the wellness committee, as well as Paul Rodolfi, they did an enormous amount of research and discussed possible ideas for the execution of the wellness incentives. The outcome is good, and it meets the county's responsibility as well as keeping the wellness program intact for the employees. The group worked out a plan through Empower to have all incentives processed through them rather than the county. Then in just upcoming announced there will be biometric testing held late in October, and the committee is planning a summer giveaway incentive. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them or give them to Paul or Sarah if they have answers.
Any questions? Any questions from the committee? All right, hearing none. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chair.
All right, Lyram's not with us, so we'll assume that there's not a Gredco report. Moving down to point 8, ARPA, Sarah and Patty.
We do not have a quarterly report. This month we had one in July, and our next one will come up in October. The October report will cover July, August, and September. We do not have any other ARPA items to discuss unless anybody has any questions.
No, we just need maintenance department to get some things underway so we can get some money spent. So you have a report for us.
Right.
Right, Jeff? All right. Thank you, Sarah. All right, we have approval monthly Joseph E. Meyer resolution. We have 21-11-408-009 and Woodhaven Lakes. Entertain a motion to approve that resolution and send it to executive. Moved by Kitson, seconded by Naylor. Although any questions, discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. My knowledge, we do not have any unfinished business. What, you? Oh, you?
Did you want a treasurer's report, Jim,
Oh.
or did you want to skip over that?
Did I skip over him again? Well, I thought we were going to do that. I'll tell you, yeah, it's just finance committee.
I can, yeah. I can
Are you
leave.
sure?
I can leave.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Rudolphi. Sorry about that.
No problem. As most of you probably have your packet in front of you, the revenues for the month of July have increased. We had our first distribution from property tax collections, expecting another distribution here in the next week, which will also help us. Expenses running to just slightly higher than they should, but within reason. The other thing I wanted to kind of cover in your packet, we kind of always gloss over. There's a cash balances sheet with you. And I've had a couple of questions here, and specifically maybe more in the budgeting realm. Hey, how much money does the county actually have? And what is this money? Why do we have this money in the bank? So I kind of wanted to go over that for you guys, just so you had an idea of what each one of those line items represented and maybe the functionality of what that money is. So under general fund, that's speaks for itself in the terms of it's our operating fund, our daily.
It's on page 5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, under county general,
There we go.
we run about $1.2 million a month in costs. So with that balance of 3.8, you have about 3 months worth of funds available. Capital is obviously money that we are looking to improve the facility or equipment. That's what you use that for. Right now, it's $1 million, but we have over $15 million worth of requests. So we're going to need to figure out how to use that money. Solid waste is at 2.3. We also have an ordinance that says we must leave 2 million in that account as a liability buffer. And then you start getting, so that those 3 items there are kind of your general monies, what you spend money on a daily basis. The other items as you come down, and I'll start with road construction and highway, those are specific funds. They can only be spent for highway improvement, maintenance of the highways. So those are very restricted funds, along with health department, animal control, all of this money that are treasurer funds. I can go down the clerk fees. All of that money is very restricted funds. It's funds that are only to be spent based on statute or state law. There's only, a few things you can do with each one of those, and they're specific to those departments. One of the other items down the list is grants. So there's 4.6 in there. Well, those are mainly ARPA money that we know what we're using that for and what we need. But the other part of that is lots, or the Lee Ogle Transportation. So all of their funding is through grants. And again, that's a specific spend. You cannot pull that money out for highway. You can't pull it out for sheriff's department or, that type of item. The last item on there, and it's the biggest one, is agency. And everybody's like, wow, why do we have that big of, what is that? Well, during this time period, most of that is property tax money that we are collecting, that 90% of that goes right back out to Lee County's different agencies. There's 98 different governing bodies that's being distributed to. The city of Dixon, the city of Amboy, your school districts, your drainage districts. So that again is not county money. It's kind of pass-through money, if you will. There's some escrow money in there, and what that means is we've had a couple of people that have to prepay for damage to roads in case they damage them for like wind or solar. And Dave Anderson takes care of that through the highway department when they're done and he has to repair any road damage. He uses that escrow money. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood, even though that line or that report shows basically $50 million in the bank, there is not $50 million worth of money for the county. It's really $3.8 million, and that's really 3 months worth of spending, if you will, for our operating budgets. I just wanted to go through that with you guys, make sure it was you were comfortable with it, and if you have any questions, let me know. Beyond that, everything else I would say is tracking to expectations.
Any questions for Paul? Tim?
So we're still on, we're still on target to be under budget then, as of today, for this year.
Well, at the end of July, it does show that we're under budget by a slight amount. But what's not in there, there are still at least $500,000 worth of transfers that have to happen. So that would completely wipe that out. I would say last year at this time, we had over $1 million excess as we were running. This year, we are so close that it's where we will be at by November end. We'll be close. We'll be close.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's not the cushion that we enjoyed. We, last 2 years, we've been
Correct.
able to put money back into the capital that we'd taken out. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, but the last 2 years, you've had federal money that's kind of floated around and that's really helped us through maybe through, and when I say federal money, I mean the pandemic money that was moved around through the federal government out to all the different agencies. That helped us. It truly did. But we no longer have that. So we are working on what we have available.
Yep. Any other questions for Paul? All right. We're down to no unfinished business that I'm aware of. We have new business, Circuit Clerk's Chief Deputy Wage Adjustment. Amy.
Morning.
Good morning.
In your packet, you should have a memorandum of understanding signed by the Teamsters for a one-time wage increase of $5,000 for my chief deputy. And this is based on her years of experience, her duties, comparable positions, as well as other offices within the county provide this for their chief deputies. It will not reopen the contract. It will only be in place as long as she is chief deputy and working full-time. So that's.
Okay, so I went through this, Amy, but
That's all
that's it. Okay. So two things. You have it in there for July 1st. So what
do.
was the proration for, because we're talking about not the full 5,000
Right. If I did
retro.
my math right, it's about $700 if it makes, it's about 7 weeks out, so.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, through the end of the year.
I didn't
So-
do that. I'm sorry. I went back to July. I'm sorry. I did not do that.
So through the end of the year, it'd be about $2,100.
Okay. So we need to have, if the committee passes that as presented, it would be the 2,100, or it would be the proration from July
July
1st
1st.
forward to the end of the fiscal year, and then 5,000 after that.
Correct.
And now you also had, now we had talked that we were hoping that we would take that out of one of your proprietary funds to be able to do that. You've got this as county general.
I have it as county general, yes. It's common procedure to take it out of salary. And that's where the salaries are
Okay.
for full-time.
Okay, so that, it's not possible to take that out of one of your
It's for
proprietary
specific,
funds?
it's circuit clerk funds are for specific things. So
Okay. All right, and you had that, and you and Charlie had that conversation? That,
we did.
okay,
We took a look at some of the line items that she has in her budget. There was the automation fund, and I think there was another circuit clerk fund. Statutorily, there's only certain things that she can do with those things, those two line items. And I'm not comfortable, I don't think the county should be comfortable just taking salary from those two line items.
okay, all right. All right, those are my two questions. Committee have any questions for Amy? Yep.
Yeah, normally I would not be in favor of going outside of the contract. And I know, and you said that it's not opening the contract, but it's a letter of understanding. But given that every other department has this, I think maybe an issue of fairness.
Correct.
And-
I wouldn't say every other department, but some.
Okay, so that
departments.
was my, I guess that would be my question. Do we have other departments out there that are going to be coming to us and saying, hey, my chief deputy doesn't have this?
I can't answer that, but I do know that the two offices, county treasurers and clerk and recorder have this.
Okay.
It's actually in their contract. I don't know what other departments have chief deputies.
Amy, I read through this where they signed off and it wouldn't be open a contract and all that. Does this then become a contractual thing by this memorandum that it will be in the contract from here forward?
Yes,
We don't have to negotiate or anything.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion to, let's see, this was, I gotta think, this doesn't need to go to executive. This would be Or would it have to go to executive?
Good question. I don't think I know the answer to that. Does anybody have an opinion on whether this should, it's outside of budget? Yeah.
Yeah, so the motion would be to send, we would make a recommendation to executive to move to the full county board.
And a quick question before I say that, Amy, our question is it outside the budget? Have you had any staff changes throughout the course of this year that it could be paid for within the budget you got or in your salary line item full-time? Or is this going to be in addition to what you got?
This is going to be in addition.
Okay, then we're clear, then it needs to go forward.
Okay.
When does the contract expire?
Next year, November 20. So we will start negotiations this year. Next, 2024.
Be negotiated.
So we'll, right.
Yeah, the contract is through
2020.
November of 2024.
Correct.
You'll start negotiations probably what, August, September, a year from now, right? Yeah.
Don't we start a year before? Okay, that's it. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
A couple months before.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So it's a year out.
Okay, Nancy?
So to take off on Tim's question, do we know how many other departments do not have, and you said two.
I don't know that off
I
the
know
top of
two
my
others,
head.
but I don't know.
How many other
So-
options would there be? What do we?
So obviously, the sheriff's department has a chief deputy. The assessor's department, which is not union, has a chief deputy. Amy's already said the clerk, the treasurer. I can't think of anybody else beyond that.
Okay, so I was just looking for the exposure that they would have.
That gets an extra.
They get extra.
Right, and the extra in the clerk, treasurer, and assessor is equal to what Amy is requesting for her chief deputy.
And the others are all in their specific unions.
The
Sheriff.
Teamsters, clerk, treasurer, it's in the union contract. Assessor is non-union, and sheriff's department is in,
In the,
well, it's sort of in the contract.
okay.
It's not covered, the chief deputy is not covered by the contract, but they acknowledge that the position exists in the contract.
Got it. Okay, I was just looking for the exposure we might have and others.
What about the chief deputy of the finance committee?
I don't think that position receives any compensation at all, you know. Thank God for some
Change your
levity.
title.
Yeah.
I believe this is non-union, right?
Any other pertinent information to come before the committee? Okay, entertain a motion.
So, Jim,
Yep,
so just so I know, we are going to send this to executive, correct?
it would be sent to executive. So the motion would be to approve the with the proration amount to executive.
And that's out of the salary line item, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you have
And
an
the-
amount that I'm supposed to put in?
Well, the proration is based on July 1st through the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd be clear about that, right? Is that what everybody is talking about, at July 1st through the
So
end of the
it's
fiscal year?
5 months.
Right.
Thank you.
So. Anybody want to make that motion? And then we can actually, I'd like to get the motion on the floor and then we can discuss it and dispose of it.
I'll move to get it on the floor.
Moved by Naylor, seconded by Book. All right, first and seconded, further discussion. I sense reluctance from the committee, and I think a little bit of and I guess I'll speak to that, is we're doing something mid-year, and Mr. Bivens, go ahead.
Yeah, that's my only concern. I get really uncomfortable with, in the middle of a contract. It is an issue of fairness, but it can be addressed in the contract, outside of the contract. I know it's been stated it's not opening up, but I don't know that I'm comfortable doing that. That's just me.
It's a good point.
My question would be, when does the contract open? If this is, I know it's not an issue of opening it or whatever, but when, just as a point of interest, when would that contract open?
So it'd be next year for 24. Their contract sunsets at the end of the fiscal year next year.
Okay,
So they'll
end
start
of-
negotiations this time next year.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments?
It's a hard one.
All right. I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion fails. So I guess the course of action, Amy, would be, we'll have to renegotiate that for, or put that in the contract negotiations for next year.
Right.
Okay. All right. All right, that's the end of our agenda. I do want to call for executive session, subject matter being salaries. So I would entertain a motion to go in executive session, moved by Book, seconded by Kitzman. And,
No, Kitson.
or,
I don't own a lumberyard.
no, Kitzon.
I'm the poor guy.
I just spent money at Kitzman's yesterday, so I
See
guess.
what I mean?
We're having a hard time today.
Becky, would you call the roll?
Jim Sheeline,
Aye.
Mike Book,
Aye.
Tom Kitson. Yes. Larry Mamini, Tim Bivens.
Yes.